All right, friends, are you ready to see how our book ends? We've got our last two chapters today. So we're starting with chapter 9 called It's Gone. Remember, Jack and Annie had just hung the necklace in the window and it started to shine super bright all through the hallway. What a wonderful mystery, Mother Mary Joseph said softly. Your light shines for all those who need us. Who are you? Sister Agnes said in a hushed voice. Are you angels? Annie laughed. No, we're just tourists, she said. Faint voices came from across the dark waters. Hello, is anyone there? Yes, Annie called back from the window. This way. Jack and Annie worked with Sister Agnes and Mother Mary Joseph for the rest of the night. They all helped storm refugees find their way to Ursuline Academy. They called out again and again, urging them to come toward the light. Jack and Annie helped people climb through the window, and they led them to the auditorium. They gave them shoes and blankets. They were never too tired to lend a hand. Just before dawn, the water started going down. But by the first light of morning, Jack saw that the floodwaters had flowed back out to sea, like water draining from a bathtub. The great Galveston hurricane was over. Sunlight streamed in, and Morgan's tiny star sparkled in the window. The glass star was just a glass star again. Annie took down the necklace and put it around her neck. Oh, no, said Jack, looking out the window. Not one building is left standing between the academy and the waterfront. The ground was covered with pools of muddy brown water and mounds of trash. Bells began to ring from the chapel. A new day is beginning, Mother Mary Joseph said. Yes, said Annie. Deadly storms are terrible, said Mother Mary Joseph, but they always end. Then you start over, and you look at the world a little differently. Yes, said Jack. He was suddenly so tired and couldn't think straight. You both must lie down and rest now, said the nun. You can sleep in my room. Thanks, said Annie, but we have to find our parents right away so they'll know we're safe. Please tell Rose, Lily, and Lucas goodbye for us. Oh, of course, I will, said the nun. And thank Rose for taking good care of us. Tell her not to worry. We know how to find our mom and dad. Are you certain you know where they are? Oh, yes. We just have to get back to Avenue L near 25th Street. Is that far from here? Jack asked Mother Mary Joseph. Oh, no, it's very close, only 2 blocks north. Thanks, said Annie. Mother Mary Joseph looked worried. Are you really positive you can find your parents? No question about it, said Annie. But you'll come right back here if you don't find your parents. Do you promise? We promise, said Jack and Annie together. Mother Mary Joseph led Jack and Annie down the stairs to the first level of the building. All the windows were broken and all the doors had been blown away. The storm water had drained out, leaving muddy puddles on the stone floor. Mother Mary Joseph stopped in the open entranceway. Thank you for all your help, and thank you for your guiding light, she said. Well, thank you for helping us, said Annie. You remind me of a good friend of ours named Morgan. Me too, said Jack. Mother Mary Joseph smiled. Be careful, my friend. She bowed her head and then left them. Mother Mary Joseph was the hero Morgan wanted us to learn from. Right, said Jack. And he quoted Morgan's rhyme that said, learn from a hero who's humble and brave, who welcomes the hundreds arriving on waves. Look her up in our Texas book, said Annie. Oh, I'm afraid that book is ruined, said Jack. He pulled it out of his knapsack and took out the Texas book. It was soaking wet and all the pages were stuck together. Aw, too bad, said Annie. Jack put the book back into his knapsack. Let's go, he said. Then him and Annie headed out of the Ursuline Academy. They took each other's hands and began slogging through the mud. As they walked up 25th Street, Jack looked straight ahead. He tried not to think about the destroyed city and the mounds of wreckage. Instead, Jack kept his mind on home, on the Frog Creek woods and their mom, and their house and their dad. He thought of Morgan Le Fay and Merlin and the magic treehouse. Soon Jack and Annie turned on to Avenue L. All the houses had been torn apart on that street. Only a few walls and chimneys remained. There's the iron fence, said Annie. They walked through the open gateway of the fence into the muddy yard. Annie gasped. Oh, it's gone, she said. I know, said Jack. We were there with Rose when her house was destroyed. No, not Rose's house. Our house is gone. She pointed to the remains of an oak tree. That was our oak tree, where that tree house was. The tree was split in two. All the upper branches were gone, and so was the magic treehouse. Dun, dun, dun. That takes us to chapter 10, called Hurricane Heroes. How are Jack and Annie going to get home if the treehouse is gone? Well, Jack looked at the bare broken tree. He couldn't believe it. It's gone, he said in a whisper. Wait, said Annie. Is that it? She pointed to a pile of muddy boards jammed against the iron fence. Maybe, said Jack. Maybe what's left of it. Him and Annie stepped over to the ruins of the treehouse. The floor was covered with brown mud, and the roof was missing. 3 of the floor walls had caved in. Jack started to lift one of the fallen walls. Hold on, said Annie. She reached under the wall and pulled out their wet Pennsylvania book. Oh no, this book is ruined too. So look here. This is part of the treehouse. You can see, and then here are some of the walls of the treehouse. This is all remains of the treehouse. And now that book is ruined. Wait, said Annie. She carefully peeled apart some pages. Well, look, here's the photo of Frog Creek Woods. She showed Jack the smeared page. But that's all we need. Come on, let's get in the treehouse. Are you crazy, said Jack. Just get in. No, there's no in to get into. There's nothing we can get in. Fine, let's just go and sit on the floor of the treehouse. So holding the book, Annie sat down on the muddy floor, and Jack sat beside her. He'd gotten so used to being wet and grimy, he didn't even think about the mud. Annie pointed to the smeared photo of Frog Creek. I wish we could go there, she said. Nothing happened. Jack put his head in his hands. I wish we could go there, Annie shouted. Then Jack felt the floor of the treehouse start to move. Whoa, he said. He could not believe it. The wind started to blow, and the treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Tap, tap, tap. A breeze blew through the window of the treehouse. Rain splashed softly against the oak leaves. We're home, said Annie. Jack looked around. As always, no time at all had passed in Frog Creek. Jack and Annie were wearing their own dry, comfortable clothes and shoes again. The canvas knapsack had changed back into Jack's backpack, and the Pennsylvania book lay on the clear wooden floor, and it was in perfect shape. Best of all, the treehouse had walls and a window again, 4 walls and a roof. I didn't know if the magic treehouse could fix the treehouse itself, whispered Jack. I was pretty sure it could, said Annie. Of course you were, said Jack, smiling. Come on, let's hurry home. Wait, I want to look in the Texas book one more time. No, it was ruined by the water, remember? Yep, said Annie, but I bet it's fine now. Jack pulled out their Texas book out of his backpack, and the book was good as new. Yay, said Annie. You were right, said Jack, and he handed her the book. Annie looked in the index. Here, she said. She turned right to the page. Oh, wow, listen to this. And she read aloud. Mother Mary Joseph was an outstanding hero of the Great Galveston Hurricane of 1900. When the storm hit the island, she and her community of nuns saved the lives of more than 1,000 storm refugees. Many people of Galveston called her. Annie gasped and looked at Jack. You won't believe this. What? Listen, Annie said, and she read. Many people called her a shining light. Oh, man, said Jack, smiling. Annie turned the page and read more. After the storm, 6,000 to 12,000 people were dead or missing, and 4,000 buildings were destroyed. But the survivors of the Great Galveston Hurricane did not give up. In spite of their suffering, they immediately began rebuilding their homes and their lives. Rose would say that's what Texans do, said Jack. She was so proud to live in Texas, said Annie, and she kept reading. Workers also built a high seawall to help keep the sea from ever destroying Galveston again. Most of all, they pumped sand from the floor of the Gulf to raise the level of the whole city. Today, Galveston is one of the best protected cities on the Gulf Coast. Wow, that's really great, said Annie. She put the book on the floor. I'd like to go there again, and actually our time. Me too, said Jack. Yeah, I'd like to meet the great-great-grandchildren of Rose and Lucas, said Annie. And Lily, said Jack. Annie smiled. But first, I'd like to go home and see Mom and Dad. Yep, said Jack. I like that more than anything in the world. Annie took the star necklace off and set it on top of the Texas book. And Jack put on his backpack and climbed down the rope, and Annie followed. As they started through the woods, the rain gradually stopped falling. Streams of misty sunlight slanted through the branches, and birds sang loudly. Here's a picture of the book with the necklace on top. Do you remember what Mother Mary Joseph told us, said Annie. Deadly storms are terrible, but they always end. Then you start over, said Jack, and you look at the world a little differently. Yeah, like ordinary things seem more special than before. Yeah, like our comfortable shoes, said Jack. Like birds, said Annie. Ooh, like sunlight, said Jack. Like family and friends, said Annie. Like family and friends, repeated Jack. Let's hurry. Him and Annie took off running through the Frog Creek woods, headed for home. And that's the end of Magic Treehouse number 30. I hope you liked it. So tune in next week to find out what our next book is and to start reading it. Hope you guys have a great weekend and a fun Catch Up Friday. I love you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.